February 25th, Princess Elizabeth, the future Queen Elizabeth, signed up for war service. 6,000 miles away, the Allied forces were falling back from Malaya. Their 54-day campaign was over. To the consternation of the British, the Japanese were closing in on Singapore. As well as being an important strategic port, Singapore was the home of many who were supporting China. Financial support had come from the ethnic Han Chinese, support that contributed to the stalling of the Japanese advance in China. Yet one more reason for the Japanese to invade the island. The Allies hung on, facing a determined Japanese assault. For General Yamashita, it was a nervous time, as he would later recall. My attack on Singapore was a bluff that worked. I had 30,000 men and was outnumbered more than 3 to 1. I knew that if I had to fight for long for Singapore, I would be beaten. That is why the surrender had to be at once. I was very frightened all the time that the British would discover our numerical weakness and lack of supplies and force me into disastrous street fighting. Singapore lay under the command of Lieutenant General Arthur Percival. At his disposal, he had roughly 100,000 military personnel from Australia, Great Britain and India, as well as soldiers raised in Malaya and Singapore. They prepared their defense. The Japanese strategy was a wily one. At midnight on February 7th, Japanese troops landed unopposed on Singapore's northeast coast, and they gave the impression of an impending attack from that direction. However, the next day they began a strategic air and artillery attack on the northwest coast instead. By 9:30 that night, the first Japanese amphibious assault on Singapore was launched. Undeterred by heavy casualties suffered from Australian machine gunners, wave upon wave of Japanese troops landed successfully. By midnight, the Australian defence was broken. The following day, the Tengah airfield fell to the Japanese. Singapore turned her famous large-caliber coastal guns inland, at least those that were capable of turning. But the guns were supplied with mainly armor-piercing shells, necessary to penetrate the hulls of armored warships, the very reason the guns were there. Had the guns been well supplied with high-explosive shells, the Japanese attackers would have suffered heavy casualties. The guns would have helped repel the Japanese advance. They didn't. With his troops well established on the northern shores, Yamashita's next objective was Bukit Timah, commanding the northwestern approach to Singapore town. Yamashita called upon Percival to surrender. Percival had strict orders to fight till the end. A bitter battle was fought where the Japanese 18th Division faced the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the Malay Regiment, supported by men from the Australian forces. The Allies fought stubbornly and kept the Japanese onslaught at bay until midnight of February 12th.